Well, welcome. I'm Joe Beaudoin, President of NARF, and I'm here today with NARF's Legislative Director, Jessica Klement, to discuss the NARF's top legislative priority, change CPI. So, Jesse, let's start with the easy stuff. What is CPI?
Thanks, Joe. The CPI is the Consumer Price Index, which measures our spending habits. Basically, it's a virtual basket of goods and services and how the prices of those goods change over time.
So why is that important to NARF members?
The CPI is used when determining whether or not seniors receive a cost of living adjustment. Right now, COLAs are measured by a formula called the CPI-W, which looks at the spending habits of urban wage earners under the age of 62.
So how does the change CPI fit into all of this?
The change CPI would change how inflation is measured by assuming you make behavioral changes when prices rise. For instance, when the cost of beef goes up, the change CPI assumes you'd buy more chicken when you head to the grocery store, minimizing inflation's impact.
Well, that sounds reasonable to me. What are the problems with this?
I'm really glad you asked that question, Joe, because I think many lawmakers are asking the exact same thing. The problem is twofold. First, since the change CPI would measure the spending habits of urban wage earners under the age of 62, just like the CPI-W does, it doesn't accurately reflect how seniors spend their money. For instance, those under the age of 62 spend about 5% of their income on medical costs, while those over the age of 62 spend 12% of their income on medical costs. Last year, healthcare inflation was 3.7%, while the CPI was 1.7%. A switch to the change CPI only worsens an already poor model of measuring inflation for seniors. Secondly, while you may substitute chicken for beef when you head to the grocery store, rarely is there an adequate substitution for things like a certain drug, a hospital stay, or housing costs.
Well, that doesn't sound good at all. What would a change CPI mean for the NARF members?
I'll give you some averages, but NARF members would be well advised to head to the homepage in the NARF website and check out our change CPI calculator. It will give them an estimate of what the change CPI would mean for them specifically. Let's look at Social Security first, where the average benefit is $15,000 a year. A switch to the change CPI would mean a loss of $3,000 over 10 years, nearly $14,000 over 20 years, and almost $37,000 over 30 years. FERS retirees are hit even harder, first through their Social Security benefits and then through their federal pensions. The average FERS benefit is roughly $13,000 a year, so a switch to the change CPI means a loss of $2,500 after 10 years, $12,000 after 20 years, and $32,000 after 30 years. CSRS retirees, many of whom rely on their government pension to support them, the change CPI means a loss of far more money. The average CSRS pension is $31,000 a year, so a switch to the change CPI means a loss of $6,000 after 10 years, $28,000 after 20 years, and a whopping $77,000 after 30 years.
Wow, that's a lot of money. What else should NARF members know about the change CPI?
The August issue of the NARF magazine contains an article on the 5 things you need to know about the change CPI. And one of the things we haven't talked about yet is that it has a very real chance of becoming law. The President and legislators are currently working behind the scenes to craft a grand bargain to find ways to prevent sequestration in the coming years. It's all but certain that the change CPI is part of that discussion.
So what should NARF members do about this?
First and foremost, NARF members should go to the homepage and find out what the change CPI would mean for them by using our change CPI calculator. From there, they should go to the legislative page of the NARF website and click on the box that says Contact Congress. There, they can send their members of Congress and the President an email opposing the change CPI. I encourage them to change the letter to reflect their own personal situation.
Well, since August is NARF Grassroots Month, is there anything else the members should be doing?
Absolutely. NARF members should be working with their chapter and federation leaders to meet with their representative and senators while Congress is in recess. Once Congress returns to Washington after Labor Day, there are only a few precious weeks before the start of the fiscal year. So now is the time to be expressing your views to those who represent you.
Well, Jesse, that sure helped me a lot. And I want to thank you for explaining this complicated issue to us.
And thanks to you, Joe, for your frequent correspondence to the Hill opposing this measure. Together, we can work to prevent this disastrous situation for our nation's seniors and the most vulnerable.
And this will be the end of this session, but if there's any other issues you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. Thank you.